I know this is like back-to-back videos of covering the same topic, so please bear with me. I'm still trying to fully grasp it from different angles. And in addition, out of respect, I really like Nick Shirley a lot. He does really good journalism. He just goes out on the front lines and just gets the story and talks to people. And the whole thing that's going on in England right now, that, the whole immigration crisis, it's really bothering people. Now, I feel like from my last comments, people say it's just a bunch of racists. Do I believe that the people who are rioting, no, I wouldn't say rioting, let's separate that, protesting, mass protests right now against the whole immigration, especially targeted on illegal immigrants, are all of them racist? I don't believe so. Now, are there racists in that mix? Yes, I believe there are. Absolutely, 100%. Now, I don't believe all the people who are anti-immigration right now are racist. I think, from what I'm understanding, is that most of them, not all of them, of course, but most of them are saying, hey, we're welcoming too many illegal immigrants. Legal immigrants we're okay with, but illegals, there's just far too many of them. Now, of course, there's bad apples out there who says, no, let's get rid of all immigrants. And there's people who are going to be throwing bricks at windows and whatnot. Of course, both sides of protest do this too, who stir things up, and it's terrible. And of course, a lot of the rioting's been happening because a lot of people were misinformed of who killed those 3 girls, right? There's a 17-year-old who was born in the UK. I mean, his parents were immigrants, but he was born in the UK, the perpetrator, and who happens to be black, which is a big one. He happens to be black. However, there was misinformation that was thrown out there saying that it was an illegal who did it, who killed those 3 girls. So it was just enough to spark the outrage. However, more and more people are understanding that, you know what, although they now understand it's not an illegal who did it, but there's other circumstances that's been brewing with the whole immigration, illegal immigrants flooding into their country. You have more and more people waving Palestine flags, more Muslims. It scares people. They don't feel like the Muslims are integrated. They're taken over in the UK. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just things I hear. And if you're from that area, please comment below. I'd like to know. Because I'm just a dude on YouTube who lives in the United States. So what I'm seeing is what I know, but I'm not there. That's why I like people like this reporter, Nick Shirley, who does this kind of stuff. And before I start the video, is there a civil war? Will there be a civil war? I really don't think it would come down to like a violent, like fighting civil war, like people are after each other. It'll be like kind of like a Cold War thing where there was no gunfire ever. More like just a political tension of, getting the extremes of politics. Super far left, super far right, whatever you want to call them, the extremes of politics. Modern politics are just done. No one wants them. They're not strong enough. For some reason, they're rational. You can't have rationality. It's like we must go with this extreme or that extreme. And I don't know why it's happening in the West. Because I see things, what's happening in the UK, it's brewing in the United States as well. Like our borders are completely wide open. We're having a lot of illegal immigrants coming in, like flooding in. Like crazy, and the crime is going up. And if you say anything, if you debate, if you're bothered by what's going on with the crime going up, you say anything, you're labeled. You're labeled far right, you're labeled a racist. We can't have any discussion anymore. We can't have debates. We can't figure out the best ideas. Because as soon as one side says, particularly the left, or liberals, whatever you want to call them, so when they disagree with someone, they just label you as a racist. Boom, easy. Like the mic drop, you're a racist. That's it. End of discussion. You're a racist. You're a terrible person. And I know the right does similar. So don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming to be left or right or conservative or liberal. I actually hate politics for the most part. They both drive me nuts. They both failed me. But all right, enough. Let's watch this.
You believe a civil war is on the rise?
A civil war is inevitable. It will happen. They're not asylum seekers. They've gone through 16 safe countries. They're safe in France. France isn't at war.
And how did you get here?
Again by boat.
By boat?
Yeah, from France.
Migrants are welcome here. Migrants said it's not their fault that they have to leave countries which are subject to war.
What do most people here in the United Kingdom think about all the migrants that are coming over?
I don't know, there are a load of racists around here. They're racist. Too racist, man.
The United Kingdom has recently erupted, and the kingdom is not united. In fact, it seems to be very divided at the moment. Riots have broken out across the country. The police have made arrests on men and women for speaking out, and the major underlying issue to all this is the current migrant crisis and the two-tier policing inside the United Kingdom. In this video, I will show you what has caused the UK to erupt as I investigate and dig deep into the migrant crisis. I will be going to the start of the issue here in Dover, England, and I will be speaking with UK's most controversial man, Tommy Robinson. I will be attending the largest rally in UK history and going to other cities that have been changed due to the influx of migrants. And I will also be going to certain parts of London where migrants have taken over parks as they have set up their own encampments. This is going to get hectic. And
Those camps are very similar to what's going on in the United States. Especially look at New York, look at Los Angeles, where migrants are at. There's just tents everywhere, and people feel unsafe to go around that area. And yes, crime does go up in those areas.
let's start by going to Dover, England. And why is Dover such an important city regarding the migrant issue here in the United Kingdom? Because here in Dover is where thousands and potentially millions of migrants have crossed the English Channel from France on inflatable boats coming here to the United Kingdom. And from Dover to the closest town in France, it is about 20-mile stretch. And once a migrant boat gets within 10 miles of the border of the United Kingdom, they are then intercepted by the Coast Guards and they are brought here to this pier here in Dover. It's a pretty secretive process that goes on here with the migrants. Right behind me is a barricade that we cannot see where the migrants are at. However, we do know that this is where the migrants come in and they are put behind this wall. And right over there on the other side, there are tents and buses that then take the migrants from here and they spread them out throughout the United Kingdom. And I'm also here with Brooker T. Jones, my mother, and she's gonna be coming along the ride to see what's happening here with the migrant crisis. So how do the people here feel about the migrants that are coming into Dover?
They don't like it, do they? There's too many coming over. It just ruins this town. It's ruined it.
And would you say the majority of people here in Dover and in the United Kingdom in general are very accepting of the migrants?
No. No one likes them.
What do most people here in the United Kingdom think about all the migrants that are coming over?
Oh no, there are a load of racists around here. They're racist. Too racist, man.
What do you think causes all the racism?
Well, it's just England, isn't it?
I'm not a racist.
Well, they can't explain why it's racist. It's just, oh, they don't want them here, therefore they're racist. There's a reason behind it. Like, we don't know who you are. You didn't come in through the legal way of migration. It's just like anywhere else. You know, would you open your doors open and welcome complete strangers to your house? If that makes you feel uncomfortable, it's a little hypocritical that you have no problem with illegals coming in. That's why people want legal immigration.
It's myself. So with that, they're coming over here. But obviously at the same time, yes, some of us are struggling, and when they come over here, they just get everything handed to them, because obviously they're the ones that need the help. But most people in Dover, you could go anywhere and ask anyone, they'd say they belong to go, they have to go back.
How do the people...
See, I mean, resources, how they're being allocated to illegal immigrants, bothers a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are struggling to get by day to day. Struggling with the high cost of living. Rent is so expensive, housing is so expensive, food is so expensive, electricity is so expensive, water is so expensive, everything's so expensive. Yet government could use those resources to help people, but they're spending it on, you know, these illegal immigrants who are coming in however they want. They come in just crossing through the water. No legal process whatsoever, and they're gaining more favor versus their actual people.
People here in the town of Dover feel about the migrants coming in?
I don't know. I don't think they like it.
Why so?
Because they don't belong here.
And where should they go?
Back to their country.
Why don't you like them coming over in your country?
Because most of them ain't working, you know what I mean? Like, they're just coming over and using all our shit.
How do you feel about the migrants that are all coming over?
I think everyone deserves a life, to be honest with you. If they need to come here to be happy and have a life, then I think they should be entitled to.
And so are there like cartels?
You know, for a good life, like, I understand that. Like, if I lived in a super poor country and I can't even afford the process of going through the legal system, yeah, I'm going to take my chances and go to a country. Doesn't matter if there's a legal process. I'm going in there illegally, because I'm hearing it from everywhere around the world that country is going to help us. That Western country is going to help illegal immigrants. So I get that mind process, and that our Western countries provided an incentive for them to come here, because they will be taken care of. You see it everywhere. They're getting house, they're getting food, they're getting shelter. Yet people struggling could barely afford it. It's like, give me the free shelter, the free food, the free resources.
Cartels or other groups that smuggle migrants into the border?
probably say so, mate. So there's loads of them.
In the United States, we have cartels that kind of control all the migrants. Is there some sort of thing like that here in the United Kingdom?
I'm sure there is, but you don't see it. You don't see it at all. There's definitely help for these people or misinformation for these people pushing them towards us. But yeah, I'd say there definitely is.
To better understand...
I mean, people say, like, they're coming from war-torn countries. There's more than 100 other countries they could go to, but they pick a lot of the Western countries. Europe and the United States, Canada, right, for the most part. It's just like, why not go to, like, say in Africa? Why not go to another country in Africa that's not war-torn at the moment? Most of them don't. Because why? Because there's an incentive to come to Western countries. They will be taken care of.
The UK migrant crisis, I met up with Tommy Robinson. Now, if you do not know who Tommy is, he is known for being the most controversial activist in the United Kingdom, as he has no fear to speak his own opinion. The media labels Tommy as a far-right British man who is a racist, fascist, and meanwhile, others say he's a patriot to the United Kingdom. And after this interview, you will see how Tommy managed to hold the largest rally in the United Kingdom history. And now pay close attention to what Tommy says about the UK migrant crisis and comment down below what you think about this issue, because I think some of this information will shock you. What is happening here inside the United Kingdom with the migrant crisis?
The migrant crisis, we're losing our culture, losing our identity, we're being replaced. We feel like, well, we're becoming minorities in most major cities. We're being driven out of our own country, driven out of our own towns. So people are uncomfortable with it, but people have been scared into silence from even having these discussions due to the fear of being branded a racist, losing your job, cancel culture. All these things prevent the public from telling the truth. I come from a town that's 30 miles north of London. When I was born in 1982, there was one mosque, there's now 45, yeah? And 50% of the town is Pakistani Muslim. So I see the difference, I see the problems from hostility, the culture, the aggression, Islamic domination, all these things. So I've spoke about it, but 15 years ago, people didn't want to listen.
And where are the migrants?
I mean, just think of any community you live in. Like right now, that you're comfortable with, that you live in. Everyone has the same ideologies. You know, we're all Christian here. We're all Americans. We all like to go to the park. We like to go to the mall. And then you have not just a few people from a different culture who come in, but like waves of them, like over amounts of them, when they become the majority of that community, and things are different. Culture is different. How people treat each other is different. That's why, like, you know, immigration with like a few amounts coming into a community, this way those immigrants have a chance to embrace those communities, embrace your community, understand the culture, be part of the culture, be part of the community. But then when there's no need to embrace the local community and the culture, when waves of your other cultures coming in, why even bother? Convert the community into what your community used to be, what you fled from. And that's what's bothering people a lot.
Migrants coming from?
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So Afghanistan, Somalia, Eritrea, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, they all say now they're Iranian. They all have their one to say that they can try and get in. But when we say migrants, yeah, they say asylum seekers. They're not asylum seekers. They've gone through 16 safe countries. They're safe in France. France isn't at war.
And why do they come here to the United Kingdom?
Because they get...
That's the easy thing to say. Asylum seekers, refugees. You can't call them illegal immigrants. How many of those illegal immigrants are actual refugees? And if they were, they would have like some means to prove that they are a refugee. But you don't have to prove it. You just show up now.
A free house. They get given priority above us. They get everything above us. So British people, you can go into this town centre, you'll find English people sleeping rough, homeless on the street. You go to a hotel and you'll see it full of 100 Pakistani men who are getting free phone credit, getting given money every week, and then in a few years they'll bring all their families over as well.
So in the United States, the same thing is happening as well. They're bringing the migrants over, but our border is different. It's a land, and they cross over the United States-Mexico border, and then they get put into hotels, and they get free healthcare, they get free phones, they get free everything.
It's not a mistake. None of this is a mistake. None of it. Your borders didn't open at the same time of our borders. Every border in Europe opened at the same time. 8 million people come through yours. They talk about them. Literally, they took out Gaddafi. They opened up the floodgates to Europe by taking him out. And the migrants literally go 20 metres off the coast of Libya, and they get picked up by NGOs, which are funded by the German government, and then they get brought into Europe. And as they're brought into Europe, they come into our communities. They break down our communities. We're weakened, so and part of it is we're all looking and arguing with each other, whilst they're eroding our rights and our freedoms, all of our rights and freedoms. So it lowers the wage, which they like as well.
And so they're literally able to come through on boats here into London or here into the United Kingdom, and they're let here and they're let into society.
Not just boats, they come through on student visas. They come through so many. We let last year 1.2 million legal migrants.
1.2 million.
1.2 million legal migrants.
And this isn't a very big land. Like the United Kingdom is pretty small.
6 million people. 60 million. We let in 1.2 million last year. Well, and there's a housing crisis, and prices are going through the roof, and no one can get a property. Young English people can't get on the property ladder, can't get a dentist appointment. People are pulling their own teeth out because they can't get a dentist appointment. So your family have paid into a system for generations after generations after generation. You've lived in the same family. Your family have died to save and protect this country, and then you're put second rate, and they're flooding the country. You're paying for it. You're struggling. You can't get a dentist appointment. There's so many problems. You can't even get your kid in the local school because they're all full of all the young Muslim kids that are getting brought in.
So would you say that?
So I was really wanted to hear what his stance is on legal immigrants, and 1.6 million. I mean, that does sound like a lot of people for the UK, right? UK is only so big and it's landlocked. It's surrounded by water, and that's kind of where I differ, because we bring in immigration to cover the labor costs, to bring down costs of labor. Because when society gets to the point where its own people doesn't want to do the hard, difficult jobs that we want for cheap rates, just think of any difficult job that illegal immigrants do. They're jobs that typical Americans won't do, and Westerners won't do because they're so difficult. They are looked down upon, right? Just whatever it is, like a dishwasher, someone cleaning the streets, whatever. It's typically not a local who's doing those jobs. They're backbreaking and they don't pay much. And if they can't get locals to do it, young kids to do it, they just bring in more immigrants to do those jobs. And we live in a consumption economy. That's what our capitalism is. So the cheaper we get labor costs down, right, to hire people, how much we pay them by the hour, legal immigrants will do a hard job for cheaper. And if you can do that for cheaper, you can sell your products for cheaper, then you can compete against your other competitors selling similar products and keep your business going and make more profit for the person at the top, the CEOs and whatnot. So I do differ when they say that, hey, a lot of these immigrants are taking people's jobs. You really have to look at what jobs are they really taking? That only an illegal who has no education, what jobs are they really taking? And do the locals really want those jobs? So that's an area I kind of differ at. For topics on affordability, housing, I don't think the argument is okay to direct your frustration towards immigration at that point. It needs to go to the government and their terrible way of how they spend money and policies. Because they do have some control of how the cost of housing is. And they allocate the resources poorly, and that's why houses gone up.
The English people here in the United Kingdom are being replaced by the migrants.
Not just English people. Every one of our countries we're being replaced. The whole of Europe, people talk about the Great Replacement, yeah? And like we were saying, they're replacing us. There's a 177-page document from the United Nations on their plan to do this. This is planned, yeah?
And what benefits do the migrants get here once they arrive to the United Kingdom?
They get everything. They get houses. They get 3 meals a day. They get money. When I say they get 3 meals a day, you have got English old age pensioners who can't afford to turn their heating on. These lot are staying in 4-star hotels. You've got English people who are dying, starving, all these different things, living in poverty, and you've got hotels full. I'd say now this country, it's 1,000 years of English history here, 1,000 years. And within 2 or 3 generations, they've absolutely destroyed this nation, and they're giving it away.
Wow. In the United States, we have migrants from all around the world, but mainly Central, South America. We get a few from Middle East. What countries are coming in to Europe?
So your migration, I always look to your migration when people moan about Mexicans and think you have no idea, yeah? When you get Middle Eastern, when you get Pakistani, when you get Syrian, when you get Somalian, you are going to have a shock, America, yeah? Because you think there's a problem from the Mexicans. You have no idea. The hostility, the rapes. The biggest problem in this country is they've literally, an invading army's coming to this country and raping their way through it. They're raping their way through it. Our daughters are being raped. 2.5% of this country is Muslim men. 2.5%. They're responsible for 90% of the convictions of groups of men that rape young children. And 30% of the men convicted are called Mohammed.
I would like to know the facts on that, because that is shocking. If such a small margin of Muslim men are committing most of heinous crimes that you can think of on women, that's terrible. But then again, a lot of the illegal immigration, it's anyone can get in. That means criminals from other countries can go. And other countries, third world countries, can be like, we have so many criminals. We don't want to continue to keep them in our cage. That costs us resources. We could just dump them at the U.S. and the U.S. can take care of it. And a lot of them are doing that. Like Venezuela, for example, is doing that to the U.S. Like, hey, we got plenty of criminals. You guys can have them. We don't want to spend resources on these people. So I understand the frustration. I do tread lightly on the difference in cultures. You're saying, like, in the U.S., we have Mexicans, right? A lot of them, or Central American, whatever. A lot of their culture background is still Christian. You know, they're Catholic. So there's some different. So there is similarities, rather, in assimilation there that they can integrate in. The only thing that really isolates people is just a language barrier. Some people, a lot of the illegals here in the U.S., they just don't bother learning English because they get so much accomplished with Spanish in like different areas of the country that's catered to them. Because, you know, there's money to be made. Why not? Here on the UK side, it's like they have a fear of Islam. Like, just like any other religion, there will be radicals. It's not just Muslims, Christians. There's plenty of radical Christians too. But again, how do you identify them? If you had a legal system, they're screened and processed, there'd be a lot less crime. But you just have unfiltered immigration coming through, you will have a lot of bad apples in there. And because of the bad actors, people are going to be like, that culture is bad.
Like, it doesn't work. And it's like mixing oil and water. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. Yeah, They're reliant on the state. They're not working. They're all on benefits. And these problems, as soon as you try and talk about these problems or highlight these problems, as an Englishman, or especially as a straight white male, they come down you like a ton of bricks. And the government, because these are all down to government failures in policy. Yeah, so they don't want you talking about the problems or addressing the problems and warning about the problems of what open border mass immigration bring, especially from Islamic nations.
Would you say people are scared to walk around these streets here with all the migrants that are coming in?
Like, he's strictly nailing on the point on Islamic nations. So I'm a little like concerned, like, okay, he probably does not appreciate at all Middle Eastern people. Like, I pause and I think, does he feel the same way with legal immigrants from that area? Or people born in the UK, maybe like 3 generations, but they still practice their faith of Islam. You know, does that still bother him? Like, it feels like it does bother him, but of course, I'm not concluding to that. I'm just insinuating just based on his tone and how he holds himself and what he's saying. But I don't want to be putting words in his mouth. But I would be interested in talking to this guy. But I'm just a small YouTuber, right?
Yeah, there's no-go areas across this country where women would be scared. I'll tell you what, go dress a young girl up and walk her through the town. Go dress a young girl up, an attractive girl, and tell her to walk through the Muslim area. See what happens. See what happens. Well, they're our daughters and they're our towns, yeah. And you've imported these people in, and you've took away the safety of the thing that we hold most precious to us, our families, yeah. And then when we try and talk about it, you want to silence us down. So we've been made to feel ashamed of being British, and all cultures are equal, which they're not, yeah. We are a superior culture. We should celebrate it. Being born English is like winning the lottery of life, yeah. We're the best country in the world, the best nation in the world, and we want to celebrate it.
Do you think the presidents of all these countries are in on this together, and do you think Donald Trump is going to interrupt this establishment that they're trying to create?
I don't think they are. We know they are. We know they are. There's an agenda. Now, I think Donald Trump, the reason why they've just tried to...
Like, is there an agenda? Like, if this was happening to one country, I wouldn't think so. I know I sound very conspiracy, but, like, it's just happening to so many countries in the West. The US, Canada, UK, Germany, France, Spain. Like, all these countries are just, like, letting in floods of illegal immigrants in. And crime rates going up. Locals are getting frustrated. There's other branches of locals who are saying, you know, hey, let them in. Doesn't bother me. You don't like them, you're a racist. Until they get robbed or something. Or until there certain establishments they used to go to, certain neighborhoods, used to be nice. Now it looks run down because it's just flooded with illegal immigrants.
Was because he's going to get in the way. He's going to get in the way of what they do. They want war. They want the war in Ukraine. They don't care that 500,000 Ukrainian men have been killed. They do not care. Yeah, it's money, it's profit. Okay, and I think that if Donald Trump gets elected, we'll have peace again. certainly bring back peace.
Tomorrow is the rally. It's going to be the biggest rally that...
It's going to be the largest gathering of patriots that Britain's ever seen. And that is a historic date and a historic moment, because people don't come out in support or celebration of their country. They've been dumbed down and made not to feel not to. So we're going to send the establishment, who will be watching tomorrow, we're going to send them a very powerful message that we're not sitting by silently while you replace us. We're not sitting by silently while you keep the borders open, you destroy our security, our stability, and the future of our children's for our children.
What can we expect to see tomorrow at the rally?
Who knows, man?
And now, before we go to the biggest rally...
Like, look at this. Are you going to tell me all those people? That's a lot of people. Are you going to tell me all of them are legitimate racists? I'm not saying, like, it's so easy to throw the word racist, right? It's so diluted. You disagree with me, therefore you're a racist, right? No, do these people, like, legit hate, and hate's a strong word, do they legit hate people who are not white like them? I'm sure there's a handful of them out there. Maybe let's say 10%. Even that feels like a lot, but let's go that far. But I can't say that it's 100% like all of these people are racist. And yeah, there's definitely bad apples in this crowd, for sure. I'm sure there's bad apples in this crowd, but so there's other crowds. The people who are against this crowd.
In the United Kingdom history, I need to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Tuba.
Sponsor, but I think I'm going to end it with that video. I'll read some comments before I finish. Speech is so important. The UK government is showing who they really work for by arresting people for speech. I don't know who, but I do believe speech is very important. Free speech, rather. Not, oh, I don't like your speech, therefore I'm going to label you. That doesn't do anyone good. It's like, try to understand, let's talk this through. Let's unravel this. Let's get to the core of this. And it's crazy, maybe I'm wrong, but I've been seeing that the UK government's like really going after people who are making certain comments on social media. I mean, I understand UK doesn't necessarily have a freedom of speech like the United States. Maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. I think the only indication that's warranted is if it's like a threat, like a planned threat, maybe inciting violence. No, not maybe. If it is inciting violence. But other than that, if you're just like, hey, I don't like all these illegal immigrants coming in, you shouldn't get arrested for that. You don't need immigrants. Nobody does. There's, as I mentioned earlier, you know, when the locals are not doing the difficult jobs that are low paying, that's when more immigrants come in. Because if people are not willing to do those type of labor intensive jobs, then the economy will start crashing until enough people are willing to do those jobs. But why let the economy crash when you can just invite immigrants over, have them do those jobs, and keep the economy going and going strong? I was just in the UK for a few days, didn't recognize the country. Heathrow Airport was all Muslim or Indian, stereotypical British people. It was unbelievable. The airport was a mess. Lots of non-English speakers, people mobbing versus forming lines. It was insane. So delighted when I got out of there. Honestly, if Harris is elected, I fear there is where we are headed. Can someone confirm this in the UK? If you're from Heathrow Airport? Or have you been to Heathrow Airport recently? Now, when they say typical British people, is it just white people? I guess, I don't know. I guess you could associate that, like, hey, a local native British person is white. Because in the US, it's wonky, right? Not wonky, but like a native person is a Native American, you know, darker skin, you know, First Nations people, you know, they're not white skin. However, the majority of people in the US is white skin, and I think it's racist if you want to say the US should be white skin only. I like the US to be diverse, just diverse with good people, not diverse of illegal immigrants where bad people can come in here right away. You know, we should embrace the American culture that, like, we are the best, despite that guy saying the UK is the best. I like to say that we're the best because we like to compete. We like to get things done. We like nice things. We like big things. We like making awesome stuff. We're proud of our country. We're proud of our military. We're proud of for a lot of things that we've accomplished in this country, and it should be that way. We should look at the American flag and always love it. Tear up a little bit. And I'm sure people are going to say what I just said is right wing. And I don't believe that. I think it's just being an American. I don't care about these labels. You're left wing, right wing, whatever. It's stupid. You should be proud of your country. Stronger, more accurate journalism than the BBC would ever provide because you actually show the truth. Yeah, I mean, that's why I follow this guy. If you have not subscribed to him, please subscribe. It's not racism. It's a way of life. It's culture. Introducing a massive population from one culture to another creates a major culture shock. On top of that, the resources you paid for in your country goes to those who contributed nothing really is a slap in the face to the native people. Comparison is great and all, but when it comes to the detriment of your people, it's wrong. Thus, people uprise and fight back for what is theirs. Strong statement, strong comment. What do you guys think of that? The word racist simply needs to be stepped over. It's a weapon uniquely wielded against natives. Yeah, it's so easy. It's so diluted, the word racist. Takes away from actual racists out there who want to bring harm. Not because you have a different opinion, you're easily labeled a racist. It's not racist to be concerned about mass uncontrolled immigration. It's called common sense. I mean, if you want controlled immigration, like if you're for immigration, but you just want it to be processed and done right legally, are you still considered right-wing thinking like that? I'm going to end it with that. If you made it this far, please hit the subscribe button. I think I deserve it. Leave a comment. I do read them. And hit the like button. Until next time. Bye.